Hello and welcome to my GameStun Quick Submission video. This is the Humongous Entertainment Speedrun Showcase. This is going to be me going through beating a whole bunch of point-and-click adventure games really fast. So let's back up a little bit. So what are we looking at? So this is Putt Putt Saves the Zoo, one of many games developed by Humongous Entertainment, or HE for short. Humongous developed many point-and-click adventure games all throughout the 90s. This is going to be me running through the best of the best, multiple in a row, just going through one by one, and speedrunning them to completion. The reason I'm going to do multiple in a row is because each one can be beaten very quickly. And so by putting multiple together, it should hopefully make for an entertaining run. So without further ado, let's get into it. This is Putt Putt Saves the Zoo. First run killer is the zoo gate right there. Second run killer is getting the snacks. Very tricky clicks. Go over here. We're going to give the cheese to the elephant so we can free him. So the premise of this game is we're trying to rescue 6 lost zoo animals, put them back in their place. So big skip coming up, gonna leave the area and come back before, and then we put in the final ice block. It looks awkward and unoptimal, but it is actually optimal because you skip the penguin animation, which the game has to do to progress, so it ends up being faster, as weird as it may seem. Just by doing that, we've saved the lion. Come over here so we can save the giraffe, and already we're almost done. So go over here. We do this area last because to avoid backtracking. And with that, Putt Putt Save the Zoo is already completed, but we're on to Putt Putt Traps Time next. So in this game, Putt Putt has to get his lost items, which have been lost through all of time. So we go to the Old West first because it's the only area of the 4 that you can beat strictly on its own, where you don't need any items for any other areas. It's hard to tell there, but I pressed the period key to skip Putt Putt's dialogue. You press the escape key to skip cutscenes, but there are some instances where there's dialogue you can't skip with the escape key, so we actually press the period key, which is a text-only skip button of sorts. Now we go over here. That's another instance of using the period key. So we're already about halfway through. We have Putt Putt's calculator. Now we have his lunchbox. We have his history report. All we need left is Pep, his dog Pep, who's in the medieval era. That oil can you can misclick there very easily, and with that we're done with Putt Putt, and we're on to Freddy Fish, who was the other main mascot, one of the 4 main mascots of Humongous Entertainment: Putt Putt, Freddy Fish, Pajama Sam, and Spy Fox. So we go over there. That trapped fish under the rock we never actually save. Gabby the guppy, we just leave him basically to die because we only need the conch shell in the cave. This game uses a lot of period key. It's probably the most instances of the period key. We have to use it after clicking that bottle and after a bunch of other sequences. Grab the bottle there. The premise of this game is you're collecting clue bottles to figure out where the missing kelp seed is. Go into that cave, it's the right cave. So you may be noticing, and then I have to get the bottles to go to the pirate ship as the final area. So you may be noticing I'm loading save files at the start of every run. That's because these games have a lot of RNG typically. Like when you start the game fresh, the bottles can be located in different locations, for instance. There's several different variations of gameplay, so using a save file guarantees that we get the same scenario every time we boot up the game, so it becomes much easier to grind the game. And it's been agreed upon, these knots are pretty tricky. There's 4 different knots it can be. There's a book that tells you what they are, but we just memorize it because you can just memorize what they are. We use pre-made save files in these games so that we get the same RNG. We get the same patterns and seed every time we play the game, so it becomes easier to grind. It doesn't eliminate RNG completely, just eliminates most of the RNG. But there's still some RNG bits here and there, like the rope can be a different rope every time, but there's 4 knots. You just have to know which knot it can be. Freddy Fish 3 is mostly the same story. In this game we have to solve a mystery. Freddy Fish is about solving mysteries, so in this game we just uncover the mystery of who stole the conch shell. Grab the wallet there. Again, just like its predecessors, we use pre-made save files to control what seed we get, because otherwise you'd have to reset just because you got the wrong seed, and it would make grinding much more difficult. It seems like a cheap thing, but the community has basically agreed upon it, and so we allow it in the runs. Here's the final area. All you really do is grab the chisel, the rock, and key, so you can free Luther. And we accuse Nadine and Narwhal because she's guilty. Moving on to Pajama Sam. Again, we use a pre-made save file. Like the other games, Pajama Sam randomizes, so the main items, the premise of this game is to collect the lunchbox, flashlight, and mask so you could capture Darkness, the main villain of the game, using villain lightly there. So we grab the oil can. We actually oil the door, even though you need two things to open a door. You need the oil can and the hinge. So that code, we oiled the door earlier to be optimal. Come in here. Do I get the thing? No, I missed the... If you grab the carrot earlier, you could save time. Doing it earlier actually saves time. Here's the brain tickler. You can tell everything's going really fast. Here's a quiz show, and we all know that quiz shows are very, very annoying in speedruns. There's a lot of RNG here. The questions can be different. Yeah, the questions he asks every time are different, and here I actually choke quite a bit. Grab the doorknob. Here's some more RNG. The books you have to press in are random. The green is the worst RNG because you press in the most books, grab the magnet, come back. That's the most optimal route. Go over here. Put the hinge on the doorknob on the hinge. The doorknob on the door. We oiled the hinges earlier so we could open the door and get the flashlight. Use the magnet to get the lunchbox. Go all the way back. That's all our things. We can go over here and capture Darkness, and that's the end of the game. A lot to explain, I know, but the games go by really quickly. Here's Pajama Sam 2, the sequel to Pajama Sam 1, where we must infiltrate worldwide weather and talk to Thunder and Lightning. But along the way, Sam presses the red button, and all the weather machines break, and we have to repair them. We go over here, undo that. So we go over here first, because that's the most optimal route for it. Here's a pretty slow part of the run. You have to wait for the lights to stop flashing before you could go do the pipe. So it's a rather slow part of the run. Also, we can get wing nuts. Go over here, make ourselves large again. Put wing nut there. You can go down the slider, you can go up the ladder. It's optimal to go up the ladder, saves the screen. So coming up is one of the biggest reasons we use pre-made saves. It's for this. That code, you're not supposed to know that code at this point in the game. You're supposed to go through a long sequence of puzzles before you're allowed to know what the locker combination is. But if you know what it is, you can enter it early. So that's why we use pre-made save files. So the number of locker combinations is finite, and you could guess it in theory, which is what we used to do. But by having a save file, we know what it is. So that's why that's the optimal route. That's why the route is what it is in this game. Come over here, get a couple more items we need before we can beat the game. And we're already on the home stretch of Pajama Sam 2. Give that to him. So if this game, it's not enough that you collect the machine parts, you have to put them back as well, which is kind of unique about this game. Give him the Employee of the Month ribbon to make sure he's recognized as a good employee. That's literally the reason he ran away. And with that, that's Pajama Sam 2. We move on to Pajama Sam 3, No Time to Breathe. Get the cape. Its location is the same as long as you use a pre-made save file. We get out of jail here because, you know, we're all for jailing kids in this speedrun community. I don't even know. Grab that. Doing that, you can go down the path now. Get the ketchup. I almost get the task. The task is what I call when you get an almost frame-perfect click where your cursor doesn't have enough time to change its animation. Right there, I put 2 scoops of sand in the bag. That's another piece of RNG. It can be anything from 1 to 10. 2 is about the lowest it can be, and it's needed for something at the very end of the run. And again, the amount of scoops you need is RNG unless you use a save file. Same with the locations of the... In this game, you have to find peace delegates so they can meet in a peace conference, and their locations can be random unless we use a save file or use the built-in like game selector. And with that, Pajama Sam 3 is done. Moving on to Spy Fox, the last of the main series. Like before, Spy Fox has probably the most RNG of all the HE games. Like it has the most variation in what can be different, but using a save file, thankfully, most of that is set. There's still a few RNG things here and there, but for the most part, it's pretty manageable. So here we grab 3 gadgets in particular. There's more than you need, but those are the only 3 we need for this particular seed. Come over here. We need to get onto the boat, so we just make a copy of this guy's ticket. If you press escape too many times there, it kind of messes up. So right there, I get early cycle. So you have to steal the waltz music from the dog, but you have to wait for him to turn around and look away. But if you click as soon as you enter the room, you can get it. That's the earliest you can get the music. So that saves the whole cycle. And there, all you have to do, you have to put tango music in its place, and all you have to do is just click and press escape. So for some reason, you don't have to wait for him to look away. So that's how you go fast. And if you mess up, you actually do have to wait for the cycles. Here we have to wait for this dance to finish up, so you can plant the tracking bug in Russian Blue's purse, so we can follow her and find the location of William the Kid's secret volcano fortress. William the Kid's the main villain of this game, who's taking all the cows hostage and trying to replace all the world's milk with goat milk. That's the plot of this game. Thrilling. The car chase sequence, pretty straightforward. Just don't mess up or you have to start over. This is a major run kill of the game. The AI with these water spouts is just ridiculous and hard to predict. Here I get extremely lucky. Sometimes you don't get lucky. Sometimes you stall and sometimes you get hit by the water. You have to start all over if you do. Grab the jumpsuit. The locker it's in is RNG, even with the save file, so unfortunately I got pretty bad luck. You want to get in as few of tries as possible. Go ahead, set the levers. Go down here. We'll go over here. Here's a pretty big part of the run, that pretty big RNG normally. Grab the diode. It can be any of the 10 diodes that you need to disarm the weapon, or even like different items entirely. But save files guarantee it's the same diode every time, so that's not a point of resetting. Here we feed them the chicken nuggets, chicken knuckles actually, that we got much earlier in the run. It can either be a moat with crocodiles, or it could be a cockadoodle food trainer in your way. And we have the crocodile moat because that's something you can do without backtracking. The other thing you do have to backtrack for. The game's not over until you walk away because we have to choose between the good or the bad ending. Here we choose the bad ending because it's faster than the good ending. The good ending is an entirely other sequence, but we choose the bad ending. That's any percent bad ending. Here's Spy Fox 2, the last game we're going to be showcasing. Here I actually choked pretty badly. You only need 2 gadgets in this game because we actually skip a lot of the game just by using pre-made save. Our knowledge from pre-made save files, we're able to skip a lot of the game. Beginning's full of a lot of RNG. I got pretty good RNG in the photo booth, but here I get really bad RNG. You want the occupation set as close to dishwasher as possible, but I got pretty unlucky there because the text scrolling is very slow. Accidentally split. And here we used the gadget on the Destructilux machine, and just like that, we skipped half the game. That code I entered into the machine, you're not supposed to actually know until much later in the game, after a long sequence of puzzles. It's like the locker from Pajama Sam 2, but extreme. Just by knowing it, you're able to skip major portions of this game. Like, it doesn't look like it, but we do skip major portions of the game just from knowing what codes are in advance. Come over here. I actually went in there by mistake. Here you just go back and forth. You want to get the... You just want to make the stunt performer happy so he leaves his cape behind, because we need that for a puzzle later. There, I actually get pretty bad luck on the... The inventory can screw you up. It doesn't always come up, pop up when you need it to, so that can challenge the run quite a bit. There we need to clone a pineapple, because we need 2 pineapples to make a pie. So we can get the correct breath to enter the dog bot through its foot. Pretty crazy stuff, I know. Here we use the cape to jump down there, just like Super Mario World style. Here we enter the same code. What this does is basically gives us the off switch to the dog bot. So the dog bot in the middle of the park is going to activate and destroy a city or something. It's going to go on a rampage, but we need to disarm it before that happens. So you need the off switch, the code. You need the off switch and the code. The code we enter right there. Cherry, pineapple, orange, and that's time. Time ends in this game when you miss the good ending. So similar to the first Spy Fox game, timing ends when you get the bad ending. It can no longer get the good ending. And similarly, like I said, good ending takes longer because you have to do an extra segment, so we choose the bad ending. That's any percent. Good ending is its own category. And with that, that's all the Humongous Entertainment games in this showcase. So thank you very much for watching this showcase. I hope you were entertained, and I hope you'll consider you know, selecting these games for the marathon. They've never been in a GDQ before. And I think GDQ Express could be a good opportunity to finally showcase these games, because they were pretty popular in their day. They're point-and-click adventure games of the 90s, and point-and-click in general is an area of game that hasn't really seen a lot of attention as of late, or even at a GDQ. And they're games that a fair number of people are nostalgic about, and I think will garner a good response. So, and the schedule is flexible. Like I could have more HE games, I could have less HE games. And with that, I'm gonna leave it there. So thank you for watching the submission, and I hope you'll consider these games for Games Done Quick. See ya.